Okay, everyone, welcome back. We have our next session now, which is going to be moderated by Hind Galadari. Hind, I think it's going to be a great session, and please feel free to go ahead and introduce your panelists.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. Good to have you guys around, and a very big welcome for everybody here on my table. I would like to first kind of go on. We talked about roller coasters, we talked about water parks and those slides. I just want to delve into, and this is what this topic is all about, it's the guest experience, right? It's really going into making unforgettable moments for the guests and for the visitors that come around. And I'd like to first introduce my panelists, and then we'll dive into the conversation. I'll start off with Adham Badawi. He's currently the Entertainment Development General Manager at Al Uthaim Entertainment Company. And then we've got Davide, who is our Managing Director of Viva Ticket. Davide, I will leave your last name for you to tell us. Okay?
Thank you.
What is it?
It's Camaiora. It's very difficult also for
Very difficult,
Italians.
but I need to pick up on my Italian, right? And then we've got Doug Stagner, Executive Director of Attractions over at Saudi Entertainment Ventures, also known as Seven. Welcome. Last but never the least, Stephen Smith, our Senior Operations Manager for Education and Culture over at Expo City Dubai. Very good to have you guys on the floor today with me. Welcome in. I think before we really kick off anything, it's a question for the entire table. It's really, we're talking about unforgettable guest experiences, right? But what is an exceptional guest experience? What is a guest experience? Steve.
Well, for me, I think about it's the memory they take away. So no matter if it's a ride or an interaction one-on-one with a person, a technology, it's what they take away from the day with you, and they bring it back to life when they go home with their family. If you can make the connection with them and have them remember you in a way that's genuine to them, they'll always talk about you afterwards. Last night I went out from Tate took us out to the WWE experience last night. And my takeaway, I had a blast. The staff there was one-on-one. My Instagram posted out. So I mean, that memory was there because of the physical interaction as well as the guest service interactions. That memory is what guest experience is.
For me, it's the moment of truth when the guest comes to our attraction and is interacting with our heroes at the front. So this is where the magic happens, right? Because you can spend millions on attractions, on IPs, on marketing campaigns, but the moment the guest is interacting with our frontline heroes, this is what's going to make it or break it. If this person standing there is not delivering the message and the vision of the company and smiling in your face, and he's going to make you forget every single bad experience through the day, that's for me the best customer guest experience, and that's going to take back with you home.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you to those of you at 6 o'clock on a Thursday for showing up. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. I would say it's not what, but it's who. And it's about the guest, and it's about what their expectations are. So I think you need to manage those expectations and their experience, right? That's going to define what an exceptional guest experience is. So it's not what, but who, the guest.
Yeah, from my perspective, the most important part of an exceptional experience is the engagement. At the end, the experience is all about emotions, about, let's say, fun and terror sometimes and excitement. And so the more the guest is engaged into these emotions, the more the experience is going to be successful.
Okay, so to wrap this up, it's experience, it's the guest, it's the whole memory and the moments that you take back home with you, right? Very interesting. Adham, well, welcome to the world of entertainment, right?
Yes.
Now, Adham, back to you. Now, you're focused a lot more on FECs, right? Now, with every FEC comes a lot of arcades, Steve's favorite pinball machines, a lot of machinery, a lot of equipment, right? But how do we convince a company, and in what ways do we prioritize guest experiences just beyond these gadgets?
Okay, that's a very good question. So that I think was one of the toughest discussions I had previous years ago in one of the companies I worked for, to try to convince them that we need to carve out of the budget like 20-30% to spend on guest experience. And the first it started with it's customer experience. I was like, no, it's guest experience. And then I had to explain what's the difference between a guest and a customer. So a customer is a transaction, right? You come buy something and you leave. But for a guest, you host the guest in your house, in your home. You want to give him the best thing that he can ever experience he can have. So I start explaining, okay, if we have the best customer experience or guest experience, then they're going to spend more money. Stay more in the attraction, right? Spend on F&B, spend on tickets, try new things. And if I have a happy customer, then I have a positive feedback. That's free marketing, and then loyalty. So those are the top three things. If I have a happy customer, spending more money, positive feedback, free marketing, and here you go.
Okay, is that the same over at theme parks, Steve?
I mean, somewhat. I mean, I was lost in the conversation for a bit there. So what's the question I'm answering? I was kind of daydreaming. Sorry.
Okay, all right, so it's prioritizing guest experiences,
Yeah.
right, and contributing to the success of a facility, the success of a theme park. And to Adham's point, it takes about, what, 20 to 30% of your budget potentially, right, where you do need to focus on guest experience and not just the gadget that you're putting in place or the roller coaster that you're putting in your park, right? Is that the same, do you feel, or is there a stronger feel to it when it comes to a bigger park or more of an open space?
I think that this downspend in the parks, I think at pre-opening it's a bigger spend. At operational time, they're spending more once the asset is there. But I think most of the money is put into the larger assets. And I think, unfortunately, the guest service portion is lost sometimes because they're focusing on the physical item versus the human interaction. So I think the key to this is making sure that your staff can bring that experience to life by investing on the staff you have and keeping them engaged.
Yeah.
More. So I mean, unfortunately, I do think it's downspend in the bigger parks. But Doug will correct me if he feels differently.
And so just to add one point to him, you need to empower your staff to deliver this. Because if you teach them all these fancy words and then you don't empower them, then thank you, you've wasted your money.
So let's put a pause and a break on the human touch and take it back a step, because our previous panel also touched base on technology, right? And Doug, what role does technology play in enhancing guest experiences, and how do we ensure that it doesn't overshadow that human touch that Adham and Steve just touched base on?
No, I think that's a great question, and it's something at 7 that we have a lot of discussions about. I view entertainment as an enabler, or technology as an enabler, right? And what is it enabling? It's enabling the guest experience. And what is the guest experience that we're selling? It's memories, it's smiles, it's time together. So we want to make sure that technology does not overshadow, right, the experience, but that it enables and enhances the experience of coming together, spending time with people. You know, one of the great things about our industry is it's universal, right? Smiles, laughter, fun is universal. And we have to remember that's what it's about at the end of the day. So as technology enables that experience, I think that's where the positive is.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone would like to contribute to the factor of technology over the human touch?
You know, I would think the technology factor is important. I mean, look at extending the brand away, looking at what happened with COVID and the lack of visitation at our facilities. I know for Expo, we invented a virtual Expo that 250 million people visited where they couldn't come in person. So part of it is creating a technical version, online version presence for those that can't come to you, but it creates brand loyalty. So I think you need that brand presence that's technology driven that augments the in-person visits with the staff you have.
You know, that's an interesting point because during COVID, right, technology really filled the void. And then we thought, well, afterwards, right, are people going to come back and what's going to happen? And it made them appreciate that experience and that one-on-one. And not only did they come back, they've come back in droves, right? Our industry's growing tremendously, not just here in Saudi, but all over the world. So that technology made them appreciate the human experience.
Yeah, in general, one thing that we always say also as a provider of technology is that one of the goals of technology is being visible. Because the reality is this, no? The technology needs to be transparent, and you don't want the guest to feel the technology or to feel the control or to feel that someone is looking at him or what he's doing. Everything needs to flow in a natural way, you know? So this is the goal.
So just to add one point, I think that always, yes, we'll always talk about AI and digital but still the human touch, the human interaction is going to always supersede the tech. If you think of it in our parks, if you have a kid walking with a family, he drops his ice cream. When our frontline hero goes, speaks to him and gives him an ice cream and starts talking to the family, this human touch, this is what's going to make the day of the kid, not the tech still.
Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, technology does play a big part in enhancing that experience, as Doug has also mentioned, and Steve and Davide. Now, in a world where we're all trying to come up with new projects, and the bigger, the better, the taller, the fastest, all those things, right? And in FECs as well, it's not just the world of parks, right? FECs, for the longest of times in this region as well, there's been this healthy competition. I like to refer to it as a healthy competition because we're not in a cabinalized dog-eat-dog world right now, right? How do we make sure that each in your respective venues, you're creating a unique guest experience? That's not something that you will necessarily find. You may find the same ride, maybe themed in a different way, titled in a different way, but the experience itself will not be the same. How are you able to differentiate your venue through those experiences, Doug?
So at 7, we're doing that a couple of ways. We are building family entertainment centers that are more traditional, but we're taking it to the next level with theming. We're introducing our own characters, our own IP. Tried and true experiences like bowling, but taking it to the next level. How can we have people create avatars and have new experiences? We've signed some new IPs. Play-Doh, we're going to do a Play-Doh FEC that's never been done before. So how can we take something like that and not only develop it here, but maybe eventually take it outside the kingdom? So it's knowing your customer and what their expectations are, but how do you provide that little extra, something different, something new?
Okay, thank you. Now, that's touching a bit on the strategy planning, right? And Davide, to you, can you share some insights onto strategic planning involved in creating unforgettable moments for guests through their journey in your venue? Like, usually experiences are moments, they're memories, they're spontaneous. How do we go with strategically planning these things?
The first part, the most important actually, is to be able to identify the goals of what you are developing or realizing, which normally are very clear to the person that ask you to do something, but then it can be easily lost throughout the chain, especially in big corporations or big groups. It's easy that when the things arrive on the table of who have to really do the job, the real goal is lost. So keeping this real goal is always a key factor to be sure that you are going to achieve the goal. And then during the implementation, which is a fundamental phase, of course, one of the key points is to try to understand how to integrate in the existing reality. So the same technology can be applied in very different ways depending on the context where you apply the same technology. So being sure to understand the mood of the venue, the message that each venue wants to bring to its guests and so on is the right way also to understand how to integrate seamlessly the technology into the existing flow, into the existing experience. Because, of course, you have single experiences in a theme park or in a FSC venue, but you have to consider also the overall experience as a one. And at the end, the overall experience is counting more than each single part taken alone.
Okay. Adham, is there anything you'd like to add into this one?
So
In terms of strategically planning things?
I think understanding the audience preference. So first you need to understand who are your customers, because again, if you're looking at Saudi Arabia, from one city to one city, there is a huge difference in the population, right? So one size doesn't fit all, and it will never fit all. And from there, you need to start involving your guests with you, doing research and understanding what they're looking for, and then moving to the journey mapping. Once you understand what you want, you just start mapping the journey from the time they see your ad online, moving to your website and persisting until they go to your attraction, until they go in, and then empowering your staff on the floor to deliver what you've been promising.
Okay, so now we talked about investing a little as a business into guest experiences. We're talking about strategically planning things. Now, at the end of the day, experiences are intangible in ways, right? What are the measures that we could put in place to confirm that there is a success to those strategic plans, right? What, if there is any? I know when we chatted about this earlier, it was a bit of a trick question, right? How can we measure the success of guest experience initiatives that we do put in place, and what metrics do we use to track progress? Because after all, we are a business. We're trying to make money, and if we're going to invest even that 20 to 30%, We have to see if it's actually working or not, and if we have to fix it out. Any ideas, Davide?
Yes, the main problem that we have to face when we try to track the results of the introduction of a new technology is what we said before, that the instruments that we have available, which are mainly customer satisfaction surveys or let's say this kind of instruments to measure the satisfaction of the customers, are mostly influenced by the overall picture, by the holistic view that the customer have because of the whole experience is living. So the key point is to try to separate what you just introduced as a new one, comparing with the previous situation. One of the techniques that are mostly used is the so-called A/B testing, which is basically a normal practice in the e-commerce world, but it can be easily applied also to theme parks or FECs. So it consists basically in creating more than one way for the customer to avail the same service. So keeping in place, for example, the old way while you start introducing the new one. And in this way, when you start collecting the feedback of the customer and collecting all this data, you have also one metric to understand, to remove, let's say, all this noise that you have coming from the venue and from the context, because the difference between the different kind of evaluation will be only the new item that you added into the picture. So this is one of the main strategies in order to highlight the differences caused only by the introduction of one new piece of experience.
I think today, look, listen, the service industry global today, right? It comes down to one key measure, Net Promoter Score, right? Which you ask one key question. How likely are you to recommend this place or business to your family and friends? Because that's what it's all about, right? It's about word of mouth. It's about repeat visitation. So Net Promoter Score, make sure you ask that one question, that your score's improving, and you're driving that guest experience and value proposition.
Fair enough. Thank you very much, Doug.
Yeah, I totally agree. So I totally agree to this, and to add on this, it's loyalty and repeat visits. So that's again one of the metrics that will show you that whatever you're spending on guest experience is paying back.
All right. Now let's go back into our human touch, right? We talk about the human touch. We talk about the human feel. Now, how do we, or in what ways can we foster a culture among our staff and among our team members that prioritizes guest satisfaction and delights guests at every opportunity, right? One that delivers exceptional guest experiences consistently.
So sometimes as we're building 7, people ask me, well, what keeps you up at night and what do you worry about? And I think you're hitting upon it. We have some friends from Sea Academy in the audience here, and it's this idea that we're introducing a completely new industry to Saudi Arabia. And how are we going to get the people? How are we going to train them? How are we going to get them to deliver the service? Right, we can build the biggest and best, most fancy attractions in the world, but if we don't have that human touch and we don't develop the industry, right, especially for us at 7, our business model will survive on part-time workforce and seasonal workforce. So how do we get those young people and engage them and get them excited, right? And for me, it's all about the value proposition for the team member, the employees working for us. And we should be treating them as we expect them to treat our guests. But Saudi Arabia has a big challenge ahead of us to create this industry, this culture, this experience to come and work and have fun in our facilities.
Yes, Steve?
Yeah, speaking to that also, I mean, we talk about top down, but it's really this flat management. As a leader, you need to be in there with your frontline staff one-to-one, talk to them as people. When you hire the team, hire them to be themselves. Let them know that they're representing you as a brand, but ultimately, I want them to be themselves. When they speak to me, they should be speaking to me like they talk to their friends. When I talk to them, the same way I talk to people above me, it's very natural. So you're hiring them to be a person, not to be, they're your brand ambassador, but they have to be themselves. So sometimes I think we get lost in creating a role for them where they're playing a part. They shouldn't be playing a part. They should be buying into your brand strong enough that they're the ambassador for your brand. And I fully believe, like my team, when I'm not there, I know they're treating the staff, they're treating the guests one-on-one the way that I treat them with this conversation. And part of it is breaking the barriers. You mentioned about it's a new, in Saudi it's new. In Dubai, the challenge is very hierarchical. It's very much, they're taught they can only talk one level up, and the level above them will never advance them above the level they're at. They'll always talk down to them. I broke that. My team knows that they come to me directly. There's no barriers. You have to be able to have the conversation one-on-one. And I joke about it, but it's about shoes for me. You know, my team knows that I'll talk about their shoes all day long. I'll talk about the sport, whatever they're into, but you gotta find that one-on-one connection and be genuine with it. If you're into sports, talk about sports with them. If it's music, if it's fashion, whatever that is, find those personal connections with the team, but have them have the connection with you as well. It needs to be both directions.
Okay, so you talk about the team and the leaders and how to build that connection between the two. What about empowering your team to become more creative when it comes to personalizing guest experiences with the different, creating that wow moment depending on the guests that are in front of them? How are we able to do that? How are we able to encourage creativity in that sense on that level?
I mean, a lot of it is, like I said, taking the time to break down the barrier and break down the embarrassment. My team, we work with, we do tongue twisters. Stand in front of you right now and I'll have you do a tongue twister that you're uncomfortable doing and get comfortable speaking. So a lot in our world, English isn't necessarily the first language they speak, but in my current position, everybody needs to speak English. So I get them comfortable with how they're speaking so they know that they're not stumbling over their words, they're comfortable in conversation. I have them do embarrassing games, things that are culturally appropriate, but also make them out of their comfort zone. We talked about the sports thing, about being uncomfortable in what you're doing. Having them be comfortable enough to do that in front of me, I know they can do that in front of the guest as well. And then I look at, like, you mentioned that Saudi here, Dubai over there, I look at Japan and Disney. When Disney came to Japan, the worry was that Disney is the world leader or whatever in theme park interactions, but the Japan parks are very Japanese, and the employees there deliver exceptional guest service, even better than the other parks in my opinion sometimes, but it's very culturally appropriate. They don't become the Disney character, they're themselves, and they're following the Disney edict. So for us here, it's how do you have them be truly GCC, truly Saudi, but also understand that this is the lane I want you to be in, these are the things I want you to accomplish. You know, it's going to be breaking that barrier and saying hello appropriately to every person that comes through, so they're not, afraid to have that conversation. You know, so many times I'd see like a senior person come through, and the team would cower in fear. And now they don't. Now they'll have the conversation. They'll have that. They won't say "ma'am, sir." They always said "ma'am, sir" before, but now they're very much having the conversation with them.
So Adham, you touched base with me on this previously when we talked about we need to train our frontliners to really understand the difference, and you mentioned it now, the customer and the guest.
Yes.
There is a difference.
Yeah.
I don't know from then to now, have you come up with ways to encourage this?
See, honestly, the easiest way to do it whenever we're speaking to our frontline heroes, it just be simple and authentic. Do not overcomplicate things. So, customer, it's a transaction, right? You're going to a shopping mall, buying something and leaving. But a guest comes to your house, you host them. If I'm coming to your house, what do? You want to make me feel happy. I love everything that you're doing. I appreciate it. So you're doing your best to make your guest happy. And that's what I'm saying. Let's not overcomplicate things. Simple and easy, yes, training is a must, but again, simplicity and stay authentic. That's the easiest way to deliver the message.
Thank you. Now, as the industry evolves, what trends do you see shaping the future of guest experiences in parks, in FECs, in seasonal attractions that are quite popular around this region as well? Davide, how about you? Do you have any?
For me, the main one is machine learning, to be honest. Let's see, there are a lot of new technologies arriving, but machine learning is the key one from my perspective, because it's the one that will really help what is behind the experience and the theme park. So we'll help the operations, we'll help the marketing, we'll help the data analytics, which is fundamental, but let's say without a proper instrument cannot really give the right results. Machine learning is that instrument that will allow in the future to really tailor, make, and customize 100% an experience for each guest.
So when it comes to the experience and ticketing, right?
Yeah.
Do we see a future trend that's fast coming up, maybe already introduced somewhere around the world, but soon in this region, or maybe recently introduced in this region that we're heading towards when it comes, because the experience starts before you even scan that ticket, right? That
Definitely.
experience starts even before you even purchase that ticket.
Absolutely.
So do we see a trend shift in there?
There are a lot. Actually, the ticket today is just the only item that you must have in order to access a venue and live an experience. Being the only item that you need, it should be also the only item that you have in general. So the ticketing now is integrating with all the different parts of the experience, starting from the moment where you choose where to go, where you choose what you want to do. So now, for example, just to give an example about our company, we integrated with Google Things to Do. So you can go on your browser, you can just search for something, and you have the ability to purchase directly without even going to the website of the ticketing company or to a website of the venue. Everything is straightforward because, the friction needs to be removed. This is the main goal.
Fair enough. Doug, future trends.
Yeah, so I think it's two, right? The days of mass marketing are over. It's all about personalization, individualization. The fact that I'm on Instagram and it knows that I like to play golf or be an outdoor enthusiast. So for at 7, we're talking about how do we engage people before they even get to our entertainment complexes? How do we personalize that, right? And then the other is that shared experience, but not just you and I going to one location. We're building 21 entertainment complexes across the kingdom in 14 different cities. So how do we create activities that maybe we do here, and our friends in Jeddah, right, or maybe at one of our centers and doing it as well. So how do we compete? How do we stay connected, not only within our centers, but across the kingdom? That's one of the big focuses for us at 7.
A small example is what we are doing now in Ferrari World. So in Ferrari World, we created this network of simulators where you can drive the simulator and you are against people in Madrid and you are against people in Maranello in Italy. So all of them are playing together, are enjoying together the experience, even if they are in different countries and different continents. So definitely, yes.
Adham, any future trends do you see or forecast in guest experiences?
I think from the previous couple of sessions, people speak about VR and immersive and most of the operators now they're shying out from trying VR and immersive. Again, we still have to believe in VR and immersive. Just try them. Make sure it suits the customers you're catering to, and try it. Be brave, and you have to embrace innovation. And consistency is a key. And inclusivity. You need to make sure that you're inclusive for every single person, because now our target audience, they understand everything and they demand to be inclusive, and you cannot exclude any of them in anywhere.
Fair enough, Steve.
And for me, it's all about the social media engagement. You know, if I can't put it on Instagram or TikTok, that even do it. And then does your brand alive if it's not on those locations? So whatever you're doing has to be translated visually afterwards. So on a generation now, like Ice Cream Museum or House of Hype or the one in the region here, I think is Team Labs coming in this summer, I believe. Those experiences are just Instagram experiences. They're virtual overlays, but part of it is that visual takeaway on your phone with you that you post afterwards. So if I didn't have it on camera, did I even do it? So to me, that's the key.
Okay, so in a single sentence, I'm going to ask each of you for a piece of advice that we can give for other industry providers, operators, and leaders, right, who are looking to prioritize guest experience. What advice would you give them in a single, nice, sweet sentence that they can keep in their mind always? Davide, we'll start with you.
Give attention to the details. The small details are what makes the difference, even in big and huge and large experiences.
Attention to details, no matter how big you are. Got you.
Put yourself in the shoes of the guest. Look at everything from the guest's perspective. We get so caught up. We see the latest and greatest stuff. You see it on the trade show floor here. But remember who your guests are, what their expectations, what they see, how they consume your experience.
I think for me the most important point is empowerment. You need to empower the person standing in front of me. Again, looking at it, putting myself on the other side when I'm buying or doing anything, and the person is trying to help me, is like, oh, sorry, I need to go speak to my supervisor. You lost me. I'm gone, and then my expectation is going much more higher. Getting a supervisor, I need more now. So empower the person on the floor to take a decision, sort it out.
And I was going with empowerment also, but I'll change it out now to basically be yourself. Have your team be themselves, be comfortable representing your brand as themselves, and you'll bring your brand to life that way.
And I just want to add, Adam, I think you came up with one earlier that we kind of glossed over, and that's that moment of truth and realizing that the guest experience, the entire experience is made up of 100 or 1,000 moments of truth. And paying attention to those moments of truth, I think, is...
Absolutely. That's the make it or break it.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. This was incredibly insightful. I appreciate it. I've wrapped up my questions. I now open it to the floor. If there's anybody that would like to ask any of these gentlemen a question related to guest experiences.
Two? Oh no, we're live. Okay. Firstly, thank you so much. The panels this week have been really, really excellent, and this was no exception. Just really, really great. I think it's really exciting looking at ways that technology can enhance the human touch point, can actually kind of harness it to improve the human opportunity. And I wondered from each of you with such an interesting panel, what were human touch points that left a lasting impression with you, either recently or maybe many moons ago? I wonder what kind of magic moments you'd experienced that stayed with you.
Personally, I remember when I had my daughter. So my daughter now, she's 16 years old, but when she was younger, I used to use her as a mystery shopper and take her with me and just go try, see the competition, what they're doing. And I remember once we were in one of the competitors in Dubai, and I was walking with her. She was around 6 years old, holding her ice cream, and it fell down from her hand. And on the spot, the guy on one of the rides, he went and he grabbed the new ice cream and he gave it to her without asking anyone for permission, without doing anything, and just she stopped crying and screaming, and our day was back again on track. And that's what I'm saying about empowerment. He didn't need to go to speak to a supervisor, to a manager, nothing. That's his budget.
I think for me, we've talked a lot about empowerment, but it was an early point in my career when I was new, had just become a supervisor, had been a good operator, right? But becoming a supervisor, and I worked for somebody who had more confidence in me and my abilities than I had at myself at that time, and pushed me out of my comfort zone with encouragement, with support. So that idea, and it's something I've kept with me, and as we have new people and young people in the industry, I've tried to pay it back as well.
Recently, I was on a cruise, and the captain of the ship saw my shirt and started talking to me as a person. It's kind of cool being on a cruise ship, and the cruise ship captain noticed the shirt that we're wearing. Yeah, it was a picture of her cat. I get that as well, but still, that she came and noticed us and made that one-on-one connection from the crowd. It was really cool having the person that is basically the head of the company break down that lower level barrier, which was kind of cool.
Okay, I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, great answers. I don't know, we missed one maybe.
For example, there are many, honestly, there are many
Very difficult
memories.
to impress
I
every
remember,
day.
for example, one time in Dubai, I went with my kids to a theme park, and without even asking anything, or let's say, just looking at the information in the system, then there stood one of my kids who was her birthday. So they placed a tag on her. It was written that was her birthday, and everyone for the whole day kept greeting her and playing with her, and this was for her, an unforgettable moment.
Bravo. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other questions for my panelists? Sounds good. All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. We really appreciate it. I hope you guys had an enjoyable time with us. And we're going to shift on to the next panel in another few minutes. Everybody can take a stand and breathe. Thank you again very much.
Thank you very much.